Welcome to the NWR Investor Resources Series. My name is Kerry Stevenson, and up next we have Pacgold. They are unlocking an entire gold corridor, as you can see on that screen there. The ASX code is PGO, and it's the Alice River Gold Project. Here to tell us the story is Tony Schrek, who is the Managing Director. Exciting times for you, Tony. Love to hear this story. So over to you.
Thank you very much, Kerry, and thank you everybody for joining me today. And no, it's been a very exciting journey, the Pacgold journey so far, and yeah, unlocking an entire gold corridor. So it's been. I'll just take you through the cautionary statement. This presentation was actually put up on the website and the ASX platform today, so you can read more on that at your own leisure. Just a snapshot of the company. We've got a very tight capital structure, only 49.3 million shares out there. The IPO is still very fresh. We listed early July, 3 months ago, and already in a short period of time, we've achieved quite a few significant milestones for the company, and particularly currently got 2 drilling rigs on site. So, so we're off to a very strong start. The share price currently sitting at 32 cents. Market cap, that gives us a market cap of just on $16 million. One of the really significant or exciting parts, highlights of the IPO for me was attracting strong institutional support. Now, we secured Resource Capital Funds and Lowell Fund, and those guys, they know how to recognise exceptional opportunities and exceptional teams. And for me, that was a really strong endorsement to secure those guys on us at the IPO. So just moving on, North Queensland. So our gold asset is a historical gold field in North Queensland. This part of North Queensland has produced over 40 million ounces of gold and has had a number of highly profitable large gold mines over time. So we're up here, an historical gold field. The work that we've done over the last 12 months, even prior to the IPO, has really highlighted that we're looking at a large-scale gold system. Now, this hasn't been recognised before, and it's partly for a number of reasons. One of them was that no one's really applied modern gold exploration models and techniques to this project. Another reason is no one's really thought big enough on this project. No one's thought of it as a large-scale project. And probably the most important...
Sorry, Tony, to interrupt you, but when you say that, has anyone done any work on this project before, and how did you get hold of it? Why are you so, I guess, confident of it being a large-scale project?
Yeah, it was an historical gold field back in the 1900s. There has been some modern mining in the 80s and 90s, but effectively the last 20 years has seen almost no exploration on this project, just a small drill program in one of the mining leases. But effectively, it's been locked up in time for about 20 years. And in that period, there's been a lot of developments in the understanding of these gold systems and exploration techniques. So that's what we're able to bring to the table right now. And that's what we're having some incredible success with early on.
Thanks, Tony.
So just looking at the investment highlights here. So a first mover in an overlooked prospective gold terrain. Now, we've got a strong ground position here with, we've got a number of granted mining leases. Anglo Gold Ashanti, one of the majors, they're securing ground just to the north of us or nearby in the province. The upside on this project, we say it's untapped, and that means that we can now demonstrate sort of through the geophysics a large scale system that hasn't been really recognised before. We've got an energised board and team to sort of take this through, and we've got discovery experience before, and we're currently underway with a 6,500 metre drill program. And you can see the photo on the right here. We've got 2 drill rigs currently on site. This core is some of the most recent core that's come out of the project. This was the first hole underneath the old historical open pit, and we've got visible gold already in the first holes. Just an overview of the project. The photo on the left there shows shows the location of the old historical open pit just here. There's an old historical mill on site that was processing in the 80s and 90s. We've got an operating airstrip, an existing camp, large dam. So we're well established here to sort of kickstart exploration. The moment the IPO finished, we were just about on the ground drilling. So we've got some excellent infrastructure to help. We've got a fantastic main road that links us through to the township of Laura, which is only an hour and a half away. As mentioned, limited exploration over the past 20 years, and that was because it was held by a private company. And Pacgold now owns the project 100%. And we acquired that project through a deceased estate. And there's actually minimal upfront payments associated with the purchase of the project. And there are just some minimal linked payments, linked to success payments that are associated with when we achieve certain JORC indicated milestones with the resource definition. And there's also a 2% NSR on there as well. So we've acquired the project under very, very attractive terms, and we currently have the project 100%. So under EPM, we've currently got about 30 kilometres of prospective structures. And importantly, as I mentioned, we've actually got 8 granted mining leases there as well. So I mentioned the historical goldfield in the 1900s, some mining in the 80s and 90s. So collectively, there's been about 40,000 ounces at about at a reasonable grade that's come out of the project to date. And the gold that was produced recently came out of a carbon and pulp processing system that's still on site. Obviously not in service, but it's still on site. This intrusion-related gold systems. Now, this is an important slide for me because understanding the exact style of mineralization to me means that we can develop our model for the project, and that accelerates the timeline to discovery. This is really critical. So we can now now that we understand this system in detail, we can use metal patterns, alteration patterns to be more effective with our exploration, and that's what we're doing. Importantly, on this slide here, the majority of Queensland's current operating gold mines are actually in the upper part of this diagram here. So that's pretty important. And the model that we most see comparison with is the Donellan Creek model, which is a large deposit in Alaska. So we're seeing a lot of similarities with that style of system, but we're also importantly seeing a similar scale that we can start to demonstrate, and that hasn't been recognised before. So just moving into the project now. So there's this figure on the left here shows the outline of the EPMs with the mining leases in the centre of the project. The red outline is the 30 kilometre long structure that is the primary target. Our initial focus is on the 7 kilometre long corridor in the central part of the project. And if we move to the figure on the right here, you'll see that the current granted mining leases shown in blue here, and the gold corridor is the dashed outline. So what we've shown here is over 7 kilometres long. And if we look at some of the historical grades from the historical drilling, the old historical pit sits in the centre here. So we've got 5 metres at 67, 16 at 6.8 in what we call the central target. And then a few kilometres to the south, we've got the southern target, 8 metres at 55, 4 at 27, 18 at 4.6. Now, historically, these were thought of as 2 separate prospects, but it's only our work that we've done in the last few months that's joined the dots and shown that it's not 2 separate gold systems. It's one continuous gold system that continues for over 7 kilometres. And what we're hoping to show once we can demonstrate that is that it does continue over 30 kilometres. And that gives us enormous scalability. If we can start to have some good success here in the central areas, we can then expand that knowledge, that thinking across the whole project. So this this image we're showing here on the left here, this has been a massive step forward on the project. And all this data has been collected in the last 3 months since we closed the IPO. This is IP resistivity geophysics data. What it shows us here is the blue and the purple in this image on the left here are showing zones of low resistivity. And what that's mapping is the alteration associated with the gold, the shear zone, which is associated with the gold, and the sort of faulting and veining that's also associated. So here where the main historical pit is, you can see that it lies on one of these large structures, and it also a parallel structure off to the left there. Also down the southern target where the mining leases exist, we've also got similar blue-purple corridors mapping out the structure and showing how continuous it is over kilometres. Part of the reason these zones were thought of as separate targets was that there's zones of cover sediments and sand which mask the basement rocks in between. And that hides it from historical exploration and the old prospectors as well. So this image on the right here, actually, this is one of my favorite images. It shows it's an oblique view of all the geophysical data. So it's showing the data in 3D. And these are what we call the 2D sections that are hung vertically. And we've rolled that data over and we're looking north along the data. So the southern target is to the south here. The central target where the historical open pit here is in the center. And this is the northern target. But what you can see is this blue and purple is mapping out the shear zone that now we can define it over 4 kilometres here, but on a larger scale, 7 kilometres when we take it right up to the north here. And this is the first time we've been able to show this shear zone that hosts the gold mineralisation in 3 dimensions. So this hasn't not been recognised before. So this is the data set that forms the core part of what we're drill testing right now, and essentially why we're so excited right now with the drill program. If we zoom in just on a bit of detail to the central target, you can see that, again, the blue and purple are mapping the shear zones. This is the location of where the historical open pit is, and you can see such a good correlation there with the resistivity low and the high-grade mineralisation mapping out the shear zone. This was the resistivity data on the left and the chargeability IP data on the right. And to the north of the open pit, we've got a large IP chargeability anomaly that's interpreted to represent alteration and sulfides, and that represents one of our targets in addition to the resistivity lows that we're drilling at the moment. So the drilling at the moment, we're about to oh, sorry.
Oh.
Oh, there we go. This is a section right through the historical open pit. So this data on the left here is actually part of a 3D model, and we've taken a vertical slice through that 3D model. And you can see how well the shear zone that hosts the gold mineralisation is mapped out as the blue and the purple zones. And that gives us so much confidence to expand that out across the project. And that forms the basis for our drilling. And I can say pretty clearly now from the drilling that we've done to date, this data is being so effective in allowing us to target the holes and intersect the shear zone.
How much drilling have you done to date, Tony?
We've done probably about 2,000 metres to date as part of a 6,500 metre program. So we're about a third of the way in. Yeah.
Okay.
Oops. So now if we look at a long section along the mineralised zone, we're going to be looking at a long section that runs from the north here to the south through the open pit. We see this long section here, and you can see a scale bar of 200 metres there. There's the historical open pit up to in the top there of the section. The extent of the granted mining leases. So a lot of the historical drilling is shown on here as the red and purple dots. They're mapping out gram meters that contain gold. One thing to point out is that every hole in this section is mineralized. the majority of the historical holes that have been completed here are in the top 100 metres, but only they're quite concentrated just below the historical open pit. So the work we're doing now, you can see some of the holes in black here. They're the holes that are being completed so far. The results for these holes should be out shortly. They'll be out in November. Our aim here is to expand the drill coverage. We know from surface mapping, the veins continue from the central target right down to the southern target and to the north here. You can see some of the rock chip data on surface. So we know the veins continue on surface. So part of our program now is to demonstrate and expand the drill coverage to hopefully expand the resource underneath the old open pit. And here's on the photos on the left here, the right here are showing some of the visible gold that we've got in that first drill hole. So some of the historical high grade intersections here, 5 metres at 60, 11 at 6, 6 at 40. There's some stunning numbers that come out of this project. So to find repetitions of that, that's our ultimate goal here, of course. If we now move down to the southern target, there are again at the southern target, but this image on the right here shows the resistivity geophysics. Again, the blue and the purple is mapping out the shear zones in incredible detail, correlating with the historical intersections. So again, 8 metres at 50, 8 at 4, 4 at 27, 18 at 4.6. Some lovely numbers have come out of this project, out of this prospect. But there's only been effectively limited historical drilling, and a lot of that drilling, the average hole depth is only about 39 metres. So it's only had a cursory sort of first pass look. And now with this geophysical data, we're going to be the first guys to have a good solid look at the whole system and look at it on a big scale. So that's our drilling at the moment, where the rig is currently parked just on this mining lease here, drilling here, working its way south. We've got one rig on the southern target and one rig on the central target drilling at the moment.
How deep are you drilling at the moment, Tony?
Yeah, the deepest hole at the moment would be down just over 300 metres. So we've got capacity to drill to 300 to 400 metres, but the deepest hole as part of this program is planned at the moment at about 350 metres. And as part of this program, Kerry, there's about 50 holes planned. So we've currently drilled about 20 of those holes have been completed. If we look at section 1 and section 2 through the southern target, so just for scale, there's a 500 metre scale bar to the south there. So we're looking at a few kilometres of strike here. Section 1 shows there's 18 metres at 4.6, but what's important in this diagram is the mineralised zone is actually 50 metres true width. And it's only had a couple of limited drill holes. And what we can see is the mineralisation dips towards the west. And when we look at a lot of the historical drilling on this project, on this prospect, you can see at section 2, this is a typical example that the holes are actually drilled towards the west, and that's not the ideal orientation. So we're coming up here now and drilling holes in the opposite direction to cross-cut the entire structure. So this is a great example here on section 2, where the mineralised structure itself could be up to 100 metres true width, which is enormous, it's incredible.
2 minutes, Tony.
Oh, sure, okay. So the northern target, again, we pointed that out. The northern target, we can see the extension of the shear zone going for an extra 2.5 kilometres to the north. There's only some limited historical drilling here, 6 metres at 4.5 sitting off to the edge of the target. So there's some exciting times to be had up to the north here, and that work will continue next year. Shallow cover, this is an example of the shallow cover that the geophysics can see through. So historically, the old timers couldn't see through it, but we can see through it really clearly with geophysical data. So that's our secret weapon moving forward on this project. Project pipeline, this is the exciting part of the big picture story. This is where the scalability comes in. So our work is focused on 7 kilometres here, and there's lots of prospects over that 30 kilometres, had limited drilling, but intersected strongly anomalous results. and that's we'll be able to use geophysics to fine tune our targeting there in the year ahead. Board and management, we've got lots of discovery experience, project financing. We've put part of the team have put mines into production, so we've got a pretty experienced team to take this company forward. And just summing up, we've got 2 rigs on site. We're well into a large drill program. The work that we've done in the first 3 months since IPO has taken us leaps and bounds forward. That geophysical data has really sort of been a step change for us to highlight new targets, but particularly sort of the scale of the system that hasn't been recognised. And that's what this drill program is going to be sort of proving and sort of expanding that gold system. And the growth drivers for the share price, I mean, we've got a really tight share structure, and with a lot of news flow to come over the coming weeks and right through to the end of the year and early next year, that's going to be what we see are going to be the strong share price growth drivers for Pacgold. Thank you, Kerry.
Tony, what a fantastic presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, you've got about 4 minutes to ask your questions, so make sure you do, because this is one of the most exciting gold stories that I've come across this year. 3 months since listing, really getting on with the job. Now, Dev is asking, can the mill be any use to Pacgold? That it's a historic mill. I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done, and it's early days. So are you even focused on that at all?
It's certainly we're considering it. Part of our team, our metallurgists on the board, Michael Pitt. So Michael's certainly looked into that in detail. He understands the whole sort of flow circuit. So even understanding how they processed the gold in the past is important for us to take forward. So it isn't the sort of thing we could switch on, but it is the sort of thing that we could use as the core and build on to expand with. So it's not something we can switch on, but it is part of our long-term strategy.
So Ash is asking, the material out of the initial holes, what are the on-ground geos thinking of it? I'd say they're pretty damn excited.
Oh, they are. They certainly are. We're excited with every hole. We're a very excitable bunch. It's because there's been so little work done in the last 20 years. There's been so many improvements in the understanding of intrusion-related gold systems. So that's, for us, getting early diamond holes into the project has been the greatest step forward for us, so that we can understand the geology and then fine-tune the model that we actually use to take forward and for the future targeting on the project. So there's a lot. I put a lot of emphasis on understanding our model, because it really allows us to be quite predictive, so that we can work out where the X marks the spot so much quicker. That's what I like.
Yeah, and it is a very big project. Brent's asking, how long are we funded for, Tony?
Yeah, we're funded. The IPO, we said we were funded for 2 years. The work that we're already seeing in the IP geophysics has got us excited enough that we've stepped up the drilling program this year. So where we came out initially 2 months ago and said we were planning 4,500 meters of drilling, everything we've seen out of the IP geophysics has got us so excited that we now have stepped that program up. So we're well funded into next year, and and fingers crossed we need to step up the drill program even further.
Absolutely. Tony, you're known as Pacgold. It's a massive project, and as you say, very much underexplored and under-drilled, and you're going a little bit deeper. Anything, do you think you might come across something else, other metals in the area, or do you think this is a pure IRGS system?
I think it's an IRGS system, and I mean, I think we've got more than enough on our plate just with the 30-kilometre long shear zone. So yeah, gold will be our focus. Gold, silver, yeah.
And the gold price has gone over 1,800 today, so that's pretty exciting. Tony Schrek, Managing Director of Pacgold, the Alice project up there in Queensland, North Queensland. Congratulations, and we look forward to the news to come.
Thank you very much, Kerry, and thank you everybody for your attention.